going to show you how to remove the power steering pump. First thing you want to do is remove the heat shield on the back. You need a T20 Torx. Just give it away. This electrical wire onto the heat shield. It's the same one that was on top. Again, just pry it up with some picks. So the clips were on here, on top, and another one on bottom. I'm actually replacing the pump only. I need the old reservoir on it. There's actually three large, there's three large T40 bolts bolting the reservoir onto the pump itself. They're on there pretty tight. So what you want to do if you're in my situation where you're just replacing the pump and you need the old reservoir, you want to loosen up the bolts now since the pump is on the engine, and that'll give you some leverage, because once it's off, it's very hard to loosen those bolts up. So I have a 1/2 inch drive to 3/8 for my T40 bolt. Is essentially a hydraulic pump. What you have is the pulley. The pulley drives the gears, and the gears generate hydraulic pressure that is used for power steering. So like all hydraulic pumps, you'll have a low pressure line and a high pressure line. Right here is the low pressure line, so that is the return line. And it feeds the reservoir with used low pressure fluid. Down here, right under the pump, is the high pressure line. It's steel construction, as you can see, and there's a bolt here. What you want to do now is loosen up the bolts. It takes a 17 millimeter open box wrench and just turn counterclockwise, and steering pump. So this is, if you're looking at it from the front. On the side, it looks like this. So this up here is that top bolt I mentioned. The bottom two are right there. The first one is up here. It's accessible through a channel in the reservoir, so you can actually feed this through, and as you can see, it'll engage the bolt. The next two are on the bottom of the power steering. If you look down there, you'll see two bolts. That's one right there. That's not actually the power steering. That's for the alternator. The power steering bolts are just above that. I'll show you on another power steering pump. So this is, if you're looking at it from the front. On the side, it looks like this. So this up here is that top bolt I mentioned. The bottom two are right there. These two are the bottom bolts. Now remove the bolts. Again, just feel for the bolt itself. I might not even need an extension for this. Let's try that. See how much room I have. So no extension with E12. This is about 2 inches, 2.5 inches, or 3 inches. Trying to get to the second bolt. It looks like it's probably best to remove the high pressure line first and move that out of the way to get to the second bolt that's on the bottom. Paper on the bottom like this, so it catches most of what comes out. Just loosen this up. I was having such a hard time pulling the line out. It's unscrewed already, but if you fold the line down, right when it becomes a rubber line, you'll actually see a hose retainer clamp. You actually see the head of the bolt right there, and that's holding the rubber line in place, and it's preventing you from pulling it down. So it looks like a hex bolt that's in there. Loosen that up and take out that clamp, and the line should be free to push out. Alright, there you go. So that's the bolt holding a retaining clamp for the rubber line for the high pressure side. It's an 8mm head. There we go. Oh, still dripping. Make sure you catch them. No, that last bolt, yes, it's a lot more accessible now with that line out of the way. So take your E12 again and loosen up that last bolt. I'm going to try the E12 again with the 1/4 inch to 3/8 drive with the 1/4 inch ratchet. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I just need the additional length to reach in there, but I don't want it too long as well because the radiator hose is in the way. So let me see if this works. If it does, then you should do this as well. But bear in mind, you're going to have a lot less leverage now. Yeah, that works. That's the second bolt. Essentially everything's off now. This is the low pressure line. Unbolt this clamp. You might have some kind of click R, I believe, click R clamp that's on it. If you do, just use a pick and pick it off. In my case, I have a hose clamp. Take that off. Some fluid will drip from here. Some shop towel ready. It's pretty dirty here. It's the front of the engine, so you want to clean some of the dirt off first, because you don't want any dirt to get into the hydraulic system itself. It doesn't have a filter, so do clean it off first. Okay. Take something to pry the line out. And I think it's going to drip pretty soon. Might as well get some to hold it first. So if you don't know, this line, the return line, is actually going through a power steering cooler system that runs all the way in the front of the radiator. But anyways, some engine oil in there. See if I can catch anything if it comes out. Yeah, a fair amount. Let it drip. Move this harness and the ship pull backwards and out. No. Try not to move this line too much. This is the coolant overflow, I think. I've seen these break apart, and you don't want to do that. Now install everything back in reverse. When you refill the power steering pump with power steering fluid, make sure you fill it up with certified power steering fluid, not random brands. This is from Mercedes-Benz. It's around $27-ish per liter. That's the product number. The alternative to this is Penticin CHF11S. Essentially it looks like this. This is the same thing as this, just in a different bottle. For me, it costs roughly the same, so I just purchased the Mercedes stuff. Both of these are on the Mercedes spec sheet as certified power steering fluid for this engine. So fill it up first, but before you start the engine, make sure you bleed the system. I'll demonstrate how to do that afterwards. Always check how much fluid you have. That's all right. So what you want to do when you bleed the system is you want to jack the car up from the front and then get into your car and turn the wheel full lock left, full lock right several times, maybe 10 to even 15 times, and that should purge some of the air that's in the system out. It will also circulate some of the power steering fluid through the system, especially in the pump, because there is no fluid inside, so that just prevents cavitation when the pump does turn on. You do not want air in the system that can damage the power steering pump. When you bleed the system, you can keep the cap on, but don't tighten it. The reason why you want to do that is, first you want to allow air to come up to the reservoir, and if you have the cap on, it might create too much pressure for the air to release. But you also want to keep the cap on the reservoir, because when you actually do bleed the system, air does come out, and you'll get some spillage of fluid. So keep this on. Okay, jack up the vehicle. Put it on the on position so you can turn the wheel. And like I said before, turn it full lock left, full lock right, 10 to 15 times, and that should purge any fluid out of the system. Any air out of the system. So as you can see, I ran the system for a few seconds to cycle some of the fluid in the pump, and the fluid is already down. So refill again.